Okay, guys, you are very welcome again to our session number 2, which means chapter number 2, and the chapter title is Strategic Management Process. Strategic Management Process, and we are in part number 2. Just to remind you, it's me here, Associate Professor Majid Kool, with you in our course of Master of Business Administration, and our module is ST106, which is Strategic Management module. So, we still remember, just to remind you, in the first session, part number 1, we talk about, let's say, strategy, vision, mission, objectives. We talk about, let's say, goals, smart objectives. Do you remember this? Smart objectives. We talk about smart objectives, which is specific, measurable, attainable, or achievable, realistic, and time-related objectives. Then in this chapter, in section number 1 and part number 1, we talk about levels of strategy. Levels of strategy, we said that there are network level. Do you remember them? Yalla, I give you some time, let's say 1-2 seconds, 5 seconds to think about it. Levels of strategy. We have 4 levels. Do you remember? So we have network level, corporate level, functional level, and business unit level. 4 main levels. In terms of elements of a strategic management process, or stages or phases of strategic management process, we said that we have, let's say, 5 main stages. And today in this chapter and part number 2, we carry on talking about stakeholders, internal and external stakeholders, as we mentioned in the first session and in the first section of chapter number 2. And we will identify decision-making process, and we will have some discussion about strategic leadership factors. Okay, guys. So we carry on, and we start talking about the elements of strategic management process. So we have, let's say, in the first stage, we have environmental analysis. What does that mean? Right. First of all, we have to know what's the environment that surrounds us. We have to scan and evaluate the organizational context, external environment that surround our business, that affect and have impact on our business. We have, let's say, political, economic, social, technological, environmental, legal, right? Legal factors. All this affect our business. We have to scan. that environment. Then we have to identify our strategic direction. We said and we mentioned in chapter number 1 that we have strategic vision, mission, objectives, goals, context, etc. Is that right? So we have to accomplish our objectives and get high performance and achieve a competitive advantage in that environment and to survive and go ahead. We use the information developed in the first two components, I mean external analysis and internal assessment, to review the organization mission, set goals, develop a strategic vision, to make a strategic direction of our organization, and that is a very important issue. Then we go ahead to strategy formulation. We have to design now and develop the company strategy. We analyze strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats of our business. We scan the environment, we identify our vision, mission, objective, etc. And now start designing, correlating, and gathering, and then come to those factors together to achieve and to formulate our strategy. Strategy formulation broken down into 3 organizational levels: operational, competitive, and corporate. Operational, competitive, and corporate. As we mentioned, managerial, we have different managerial levels. Corporate, like this pyramid and the pyramid, managerial pyramid, corporate level, functional level, and business unit level. You have 3 levels, main levels. Right. We go ahead to strategy for implementation. Strategy implementation, which involving putting the strategy into practice. This includes developing steps, methods, and procedures to execute the strategy. It also includes determining which strategies should be implemented first. What's the make of strategy implementation? Moving, implementing that designed strategy, formulate strategy into action, into practice, moving into reality, make it real steps and procedures. We want to practice it on earth. We have to make something real and achieve our steps one by one on earth, not only just planning and talk about general speaking. We have to achieve this on earth, in reality. Then we move to strategy for evaluation, which involves how the strategy has been implemented, as well as the outcome of the strategy. We scan environment, gather information, and start implementation. And during And after implementation, we have evaluation. We have evaluation. We have to evaluate the steps before and through and after. Before and throughout and after. To make sure that everything is on track. To make sure that is it working on track or not. You have to be careful. Not to make deviation. Right? Right. So, we make sure that the deadline have been met or whether implemented and implementation steps and the process are working correctly and whether the expected results have been achieved. It's very important. Right? And that's normal. We have to be careful. We have to pursue. We have to track and trace our steps to make sure that everything is working on time. Right? Right. That's very important. Then we have identification of stakeholders. Identification of stakeholders. What's the meaning of stakeholders? One of you will ask me or think for let's say minutes, what's the meaning of stakeholders? Is a party that affects or can be affected by the actions of the business. It can affect or can get affected by our business, internally or externally. Internal factors or external factors, internal parties or external parties. All those are stakeholders who have interest and get affected by this business. Useful model for this purpose is to visualize the stakeholder environment as a set of inner and outer circles. We have inner and outer circles. Look at the following slide. Look at the following slide. You can tell, you can see, and you can tell there are different stakeholders that who have interest of your company, of your organization. Managers, owners, employees, customers, all those parties, and all those internal parties, and as let's say you as you are as general manager, you have to balance. You have to balance between them. You have to balance between them. To make balance between them. Is that right? Good. What's the interest of employees? One of you tell me what's the interest of employees? Employees, what they want from your company? You as a staff and employee, what do you want from your company? Salary, wages, reward, benefit, reputation, right? Fine. Customers, what they want? On the other side, customers, what they want as external factor or stakeholder. They want high quality of a product. They want their products with high quality, good service, and low prices. Do you agree? Agree with that? They want They want high quality, lower prices. Okay, what managers want? Reputation, famousness, and let's say cars and benefits. Owners, what the owners want? The owners want share, benefit of their share, and of more profit of their shares. Let's say suppliers, what they want suppliers. So suppliers want to provide you with, let's say, products with high prices. Is that right? Press and media, interest groups. You see? Do you see that each one of this party, they want something different. Each one of those parties, they want something different. They want contradicted stuff, contradicted, sorry, objectives. Look at the following table, for example, and here you can see stakeholder, shareholder, bank, directors, suppliers, customers, government. You have main interest and power. What? The power that each one of them can impress and can practice on your company. Can practice on your company. Bravo. That's very good. Compare and have quick scan of the following slide. And see, you can see that the contradiction between this interest, between all parties. And now it's your responsibility as general manager and leader to balance between them. What? To balance between them. Shareholders want profit, and they have election of directors. Employee, as you can see here down in the mid of this table, they want salaries and wages and job security, job satisfaction, motivation. But if they are unsatisfied, they will make industrial action or service strike. Right? They can make strike against your company. They can, let's say, make a staff turnover. Look at government. Look at the government. They can operate legally. Regulation, subsidize, taxation, planning, etc. Good. Is that right? So we have seen how of each one of this are contradicted with each other. Look at decision-making process. As we said that decision-making, that means that we have different choices, alternative choices. We have alternative choices to consider. Not different choices, and we have to choose one that has the highest probability of success or effectiveness, and that best fits with our goals and desires and values and so on. Good? We have to choose that achieve those two benefits and two sections. Okay, guys, very good. In this term, we have some main, let's say, how to say, approach and strategies. The first one is optimizing. This one, optimizing, which means choosing the best possible solution to the problem, discovering many alternatives, and choosing the very best one. But at the same time, I remind you, and I would like to mention, that means we have to consider different issues, the importance of the problem, time available, resources, and knowledge, personal psychology and values, and so on. Okay, guys, please don't forget this, that is related to choosing the best one or not. Or we might go with the second one. Look at the second one. Satisfying. What does that mean, satisfying? It's choosing the first satisfactory alternative. طبعا كلمة satisfying is let's say a cohesion between satisfactory and sufficient. If I'm hungry and walking to find let's say a restaurant to eat, I might choose not the best one, but I might choose the first satisfactory one, the first decent looking restaurant in the next town, rather than attempting to choose the best restaurant from among all of them. Not optimizing one. We might choose, as we said, we might choose the first satisfactory, satisfactory one, not the best one. Okay. We might have another one, maximax. This stands for maximize the maximum. This is very optimistic and would like to choose the best of the best. Would like to choose the best of the best based on their maximum possible payoff. This stands for maximize the maximum. This is very optimistic. In contradiction with this, we have maximum. This stands for pessimist one. Maximize the minimum. Maximize the minimum. This one is very pessimist. Choosing the worst possible outcome of each decision is considered, and the decision with the highest minimum is chosen. This is the worst one. And here we have an example. If I ask you to choose between two projects, give me 10,000, I give you 50,000, but if I lost, I will give you nothing. This is project number one. Project number two, give me 10,000. If I won, I will give you 20,000 only. But if we completely broke down, I will give you 7,000 of my investment. So each one of you, it depends on his mentality, will choose different option and different one. And the following are, as you can see, the following are the decision-making procedures. We start identify the goals of and the problems of our organization, get the facts, then develop alternatives, rate each alternative, make the decisions evaluation as the last step, make evaluation of the previous steps and make correction. Very easy one and easy to understand. So as we mentioned here, identify the decision to be made, get the facts, bring data together. After bringing data and information together, we develop alternatives. Rate each one. Rate the risk of each alternative. Make the decision. Make the decision. Okay, guys. So we have to be logical and we have to be logical. We have to be logical. Rate each alternative, rate the risk, make the decision. So we have to be logical in this decision-making procedure. And I'm sure that most of you are let's say, logical, and that are very easy. Most of you are, let's say, some of you are engineers, some of you are, let's say, some of you are engineers, some of you are architecture, some of you economists, some of you are working in medical issue, mechanical issue, technological issue. Some of you are working in communication field. So I trust your experience, and I'm sure that most of you are working in this mentality or with their life, individual life, but now in this field, in business field, we are more concentrate and consider that steps in very logical and in a very high, let's say, pragmatic way. And we don't forget to rate each alternative. After developing, we rate each one and the risk of each one. Finally, make the decision and evaluate and get back to evaluate each step, and we will make sure that we have chosen the best one, the best one. Now we are at the end of, let's say, chapter number 2, section number 2. Just to remind you about the case study of chapter number 2. You will see it at the end of chapter number 2. Just to remind you as well of some reference which I mentioned here, and I would like to, most of you are getting back to this and listen to this, and sorry, scan some of this reference. At the end of chapter 2, and section number 2, you will see a case study of Seattle. All of you are you know about Seattle serial mobile telecommunication trading which is trading as Seattle, which is the largest and oldest mobile carrier operating in the Syrian Arab Republic. Founded in 2000, headquartered in Damascus, well positioned, and we can say that market leader. We have nowadays, in current days, we have Seattle and MTN. And by the way, maybe in chapter number 10, will have case of MTN telecommunication. And all of you know this company. And I gave you some information about some profit and some information and data about telecommunication. Look into their website. And you will see you collect data and information using the internet and the company's record and library sources. Study the selected company and identify the following: company vision, mission, objective. Okay, company vision, mission, objective. And this, from in my experience, you will see this information on their website. Then it tries to study their strategic management process that followed in Seattle. If you can, make a visit to some of your colleagues or your friends or some employees or staff at that company. Ask them What are the main steps that are followed when they are making their strategy? Ask them about stakeholders, internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. Do you remember that we said that there are internal and external stakeholders? Describe the main steps that followed when making strategic decisions. Don't forget to ask them about that issue. Collect data from different sources. Visit library sources, companies' records, and internet using the internet. At the end of this chapter, we talk about. Just to remind you, we talk about level of strategy. What the meaning of strategic management process we define and we identify these steps. Do you remember them? 5 seconds. 5 seconds. I have to. Please remember them. Strategy direction. Environmental scanning. Strategy direction. Strategy formulation. Strategy implementation. And strategy evaluation. Do you remember this? Scan the environment, internal and external environment. Talk about, we describe the internal and external stakeholders of your company. Choose a company from your experience and apply this information at your company. We define the meaning of strategic leadership and its resources. And at the end of this chapter, we talk about case study number 2, Stereotel, will be discussed with the students. Online, and will be discussed later on online. And now I gave you some information offline. I gave you some time to think about it, to think about that company. Think about this Stereotel company stakeholder, as I asked you before here. Think about their vision, mission, objective, level, strategic management process, company stakeholders, strategic decision steps, and I just remind you what is the leadership process. We have corrective power, reward power, which I forget to tell you about this, legal power, and corrective power, reward power, legal power, expert power, and referent power. Referent power. All this leadership process. Don't forget, guys. We talk about and we discussed in this chapter. And just to remind you, what are the main leadership? I will remind you what are the main leadership sources, factors, sender or leader, and receiver, who are subordinate, and communication process, and the context, the environment that surrounds them. Here is the leader, and here are the subordinates, and we have contact and communication between them, and there is context and surrounding environment. Don't forget about this. For the time being, I can say thank you very much for being with us in chapter number 2, section number 2. We conclude this with a chapter summary here, as we mentioned here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps were defined. Levels of strategy, strategic management process, stakeholders, decision-making process, strategic leadership, don't forget, and resources power, and the Stereotel company. And the Stereotel company sources. And don't forget to search about it in the internet. and some business, and I will ask you about this information when we will meet online. Don't forget this, guys. Don't forget this. Don't forget this information. And I can say that is the end of chapter number 2. This is the end of chapter number 2, and it was about strategic management process. And here it's me. I Mashtakur with you over 1 hour and more, about, let's say, 65 minutes, talking about leadership process, strategic management process, stakeholder, internal and external stakeholders, and strategy formulation, implementation, evaluation. Don't forget this again. We identify some specific keywords, and I will ask you when we will meet online. I will ask you about this main outline. And at the end, I will just remind you to search on the internet about serial communication. Please don't forget this. To think about it and ask about it and to search the internet about it. That's all from my side. We will move to chapter number 3 and talking about, let's say, we'll carry on talking about the company external environment, scanning external environment. Then after that, we move to internal environment and carry on conducting and reviewing this module of strategic management, which is ST106, and which is one of the best and most interesting modules in strategic in Master of Business Administration. Right, guys? Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be with you, and we'll go ahead to chapter number 3. See you guys, and bye-bye.